So today I'm going to be talking about my grandfather, Thomas Arlen Polsley. He's 85 and he lives in Rotendorf, Germany. I'm also going to be focusing on my early ancestors that came to America first. What I found interesting was the fact that there was this migration from Europe to America and then from America back to Europe. So I'm kind of just focusing on the irony of history. His name was Peter Baltzli, and he was married to a woman named Elizabeth Gesler. They lived in an area kind of between Switzerland and Germany. It's called the Rhine Valley. They migrated over to America because of religious persecution that was going on in Switzerland at the time. Peter was a Mennonite, which branches from Anabaptism. They came over when Peter was about 50, and they settled in Reading, Pennsylvania. Him and Elizabeth started a family. They had 5 children. There was a son named Jacob, and I focused on him because he played a big role in changing the last name. So Jacob was the second oldest of the children, and he enlisted in the Revolutionary War, fighting for the American side. I think Jacob wanted to fight for the Americans because he saw the way that his father was treated in Switzerland, and which is comparable to the way the British were treating the Americans at this time. Jacob Americanized his last name when he enlisted in the war and changed it to Polsley to further embed himself in the American culture. So the Polsley family stays in America for the next several hundred years, establishing themselves in California, Oregon, Nebraska. And then we come to Thomas Arlen Polsley. Thomas was born on May 22nd of 1933, which was right smack in the middle of the Great Depression. When he was 7, he was already tasked with helping his family and supporting them. He worked as a ranch hand for his father. When World War II came around, one thing that he was really a part of was the scrap drives that took over America. So at this time, propaganda was on the rise, so there was a lot of save metal, save tin, donate your tires, all that. Whoever collected the most scrap could raise their rank, kind of like the army. And Thomas actually became sergeant in his group for collecting the most rubber. This established early his patriotic side and his love for America. So he actually met his wife when he was 14. Her name was Leila Potter. So he got drafted when he was 19, and he was going to have to go do his basic training. So he decided that he wanted to marry Leila. So he asked permission, and they got married in Nevada just maybe 2 months after they got engaged, because then he had to leave and go and fight. He obviously was very patriotic at a young age, living through the Great Depression and World War II. So his drive to be in the military stayed with him even after he was out of the Vietnam War. He ended up having 4 kids. Each one was delivered at a different army base. He was experiencing all over the world. He was getting to meet new people, experience new cultures. He was just living it up, I guess. He definitely had the opportunity to come back to America. I think the biggest reasons he didn't was everything that was going on in America at this time. It felt wrong for him to come back to a place that, in his eyes, was losing its values. When he got out of the Vietnam War, he he went back to America for a couple of years, but it wasn't like a normal homecoming for soldiers. The Vietnam veterans weren't treated good. It wasn't like World War II where everybody came back and everybody celebrated. It was a nation divided, you know. Anti-war mindset swept citizens across the country, and veterans were hated. Right around this time, the Watergate scandal was going on. The President of the United States was impeached for lying. He also was abusing his presidential power. People started to question whether a president should have that much power. Also, another thing, this happened years later, but it was just like the final factor that really made him stay in Europe instead of coming back here, was the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act just gave the government a lot more, it gave them the ability to like increase their monitoring of citizens, not just foreigners, you know, everyone. So after all this, Thomas just felt like he couldn't come back to a place that he didn't trust anymore. To him, Germany was a free society. He had been living there for over 8 years, and he had kind of just established himself in the society. So now, I actually went and visited him a couple years ago in his little German town in Rotendorf. He actually goes to the Philippines every couple of months because he runs a ministry over there, and he just helps out around those towns, and he cares a lot about people, so he wants to do anything he can for anyone else for the rest of his time on this planet. But one thing's for sure, he always goes back to Germany, which is just a few hundred miles away from where it all started. The main thing I got from this is you can be born in one place, but that doesn't mean that's your home. I think life is a journey of finding where you're supposed to be. And my grandfather has found his place in Rotendorf, Germany.